The raid did not look like a battle. It looked like a quiet theft. A small border station floated near a dead moon, far from the bright routes. Its lights were dimmed to save power. Most workers were tired. Most guards were bored. No one expected trouble on a night like this. Then the sky opened. A black ship slid out of the dark, smooth and silent. It did not flash bright lights. It did not send warnings. It just moved closer like a shadow that had decided to become real. Inside the station, alarms started late. Screens blinked red. Doors tried to lock. But the locks failed one by one, as if someone already knew every code. Metal shutters dropped, then froze halfway. The system was fighting something it could not see. Orc soldiers came through the docking tunnel like a storm with no sound. They wore heavy armor and carried blunt rifles. Their steps were measured, not wild. This was not their first raid. They moved with practice, like workers doing a hard job. A few guards raised weapons. They fired once. The shots hit the orc shields and died. The orc soldiers did not even flinch. One soldier struck a guard's wrist with a baton. The weapon fell. Another soldier kicked a man down, fast and clean. No extra violence. No joy. Just control. In the middle of this, the Orc Princess arrived. She walked in as if the station belonged to her already. Her armor was polished, dark green and black, with a royal mark on her chest plate. Her hair was tied back, strict and neat. Her face was calm, almost bored, but her eyes watched everything. 2 attendants followed her, and a tall commander stayed one step behind. Everyone around her moved aside, even the orc soldiers. She did not need to shout. Her rank was a silent command. She looked at the broken console, the fallen guards, the scared workers, and she did not smile. Then she saw him. A human boy stood near a storage wall, hands open, palms out. He was not tall. He was not built like a fighter. His shirt was plain. His face had a bruise on one cheek, fresh and purple. But his eyes were steady, focused, not empty with fear. Most humans begged when orcs came. Most humans ran. This one did neither. The princess walked closer. Her boots made a sharp sound against the metal floor. The boy did not step back. He watched her like he was studying a storm. The princess raised her hand and pointed at him. "I want that human, mother," she said into her comm, voice cool and clear. The commander behind her stiffened. "Your Highness, we came for supplies and fuel. A human is." "I said I want him," she replied. The commander stopped speaking at once. A soldier grabbed the human boy's arm. The boy did not fight. He let them take him, but he kept his head up. Another soldier pushed him forward. As he moved, a small plain band on his wrist caught the light. It looked like cheap metal. Nothing special. No jewels. No royal marks. Just a ring of dull silver gray. One orc soldier noticed it and smirked. "Trophy," he muttered. He reached for the band. The human boy's eyes narrowed just a little. "Don't," he said. "Soft." The orc soldier laughed and pulled. His hand locked in place. For half a second, nothing happened. Then the soldier screamed. Not a battle scream. A real scream of surprise and pain. He jerked back, but his fingers would not open. His skin turned red like it touched heat, yet there was no fire, no sparks, no smoke. He fell to his knees, shaking his hand hard, as if the pain was inside the bone. The princess watched with interest. Her calm face finally changed. Not fear, not anger, curiosity. She stepped closer and studied the band. "What is that?" she asked. "A band," the boy said. "That is not an answer." The boy looked at the soldier still holding his wrist, now crying through clenched teeth. The boy did not laugh. He did not look proud. He looked almost tired. "It protects me," he said. The princess tilted her head. "From orc hands?" "From careless hands," he replied. The commander's eyes narrowed. "Take it off him," the commander ordered. "No," the princess said at once. The commander froze. "Highness." "I said take him alive," she continued. "Do not break my prize before I understand it." The commander bowed, unhappy but obedient. The soldier who had touched the band was dragged back, still shaking his burned hand. The princess leaned in slightly. "What is your name, human?" The boy hesitated, not because he was scared, but because he was choosing what to give. "Kai," he said. "Kai." She repeated like she was tasting the sound. "You do not look like a soldier." "I'm not," Kai said. "Then why are you calm?" she asked. Kai looked around the station, at the frightened workers and injured guards. "Because being loud won't help," he answered. The princess's eyes narrowed, not in anger. She was measuring him. "What do you think is happening right now?" she asked. Kai met her gaze. "You are taking something you want," he said, "and you think you will leave with no cost." A few orc soldiers chuckled. The commander's hand tightened on his weapon. The princess smiled a little, sharp and pleased. "Smart words for a weak body," she said. Kai did not argue. He simply said, "My father will come." The words were plain. Not a threat screamed into the air. Not a speech. Just a fact spoken like the sky is dark. The commander laughed. "Your father? A human father? Hey!" Kai's eyes did not move. "Yes," he said. "He will come." The princess watched him for another long moment. Then she turned away, as if she had already decided the end of the story. "Take him," she ordered. "Bring him to my ship." Kai was marched through the tunnel toward the docking ring. The station behind him fell silent except for the low crying of wounded men and the crackle of broken panels. As the orc ship pulled away, Kai stared at the dark window of the transport corridor. Stars stretched like thin lines as the ship prepared to jump. He did not panic, but his fingers curled once, tight. He whispered, almost too low to hear, "Dad." The plain band on his wrist stayed dull. But for one heartbeat, a small symbol flickered on its surface, like a sleeping eye opening. Far away, in a place that did not show on any public map, a quiet room held a single blue screen. The room was clean and cold. A man stood alone, hands behind his back. He wore simple clothes, no crown, no heavy armor. But the guards outside the door stood straighter when he breathed. The screen showed the raid. Not a public feed, a hidden feed. The man had been watching from the first second the black ship appeared. He saw the princess point. He saw Kai taken. A guard entered, face pale. He did not speak at first. He did not need to. The man's eyes stayed on the screen. "They took him," he said, voice flat. "Yes, Your Majesty," the guard answered. The words slipped out like a truth he could not hide. The man finally turned his head. He did not look angry the way weak men look angry. He looked calm, and that calm felt heavy. "Prepare the fleet," he said. The guard swallowed. "Full fleet." The man's gaze did not waver. "Not to destroy," he said. "To retrieve." He stepped forward. A door opened before he reached it, like the building itself obeyed him. Lights came on in a long hallway. Somewhere, deep engines woke up, one after another, like old beasts stretching after sleep. Back on the Orc ship, the princess stood in her private chamber, watching Kai through a glass wall. He sat on the floor, hands resting on his knees, quiet and still. Most prisoners begged. Some cursed. Some cried. Kai did none of these. He simply waited. The princess felt irritated by his calm. It made her feel like she was not in full control. She hated that feeling. She touched the glass with one finger, watching him. "You will learn your place," she whispered. Kai lifted his head as if he heard her through the wall. His eyes met hers. He did not beg. He did not glare. He said one sentence, slow and clear, so there was no mistake. "My father is not a normal man." The princess held his gaze, and for the first time, a small cold doubt moved through her chest. Outside the ship, space was silent. But on the edge of the Orc capital system, a sensor blinked once, then twice, then failed. A single unknown signal had entered the dark. No ship image appeared. No official alert sounded. Just one quiet warning in a place where nothing should be. And the princess, still staring at her human prize, did not know that a powerful king had already started walking toward her world. The Orc royal ship arrived at the capital like it owned the sky. Tall towers of black stone and metal rose from the planet below. Red lights marked landing paths. War banners moved in the wind like dark waves. The city looked strong, proud, and old. It had seen many victories. Inside the ship, Kai stood with his hands free, but he was not free. Two guards stayed close. Their weapons were ready. They watched his eyes more than his hands. They expected tricks. They expected fear. Kai gave them neither. He walked calmly down the ramp when the ship landed. His steps were steady, and his face showed nothing. But inside, his mind was working fast. He was counting cameras, counting doors, watching where guards stood and where they did not. The Orc Princess led the path. She walked in front with royal confidence, as if the whole palace abode just because she entered. Servants lowered their heads. Soldiers saluted. Nobles watched from a distance with sharp eyes. When Kai passed, those eyes changed. Some looked at him with disgust, like a dirty object had entered a clean room. Some looked with interest, like he was a strange animal. A few looked with anger, as if his very existence was an insult. The princess enjoyed those looks. It fed her pride. "This is my claim," she told the court, loud enough for everyone to hear. "A human from the border. Mine." A soft wave of whispers spread through the hall. Kai understood enough from tone alone. He did not need full words. The palace was a place of power, and power always had hungry mouths around it. They took Kai through long corridors. Walls were carved with old war scenes, orcs crushing enemies, taking worlds, raising flags. The images were meant to teach one message: Orcs rule. Kai kept his eyes forward, but he listened to footsteps. He listened to breathing. He listened to tiny sounds, like how a guard's armor shifted when he turned. Those details were simple. Those details saved lives. At last, they reached a small holding room near the princess's wing. The room was clean, but it was still a cage. A single bed, a metal chair, a water unit, a glass wall that could turn opaque. The princess stood outside the glass and studied him. "You will sleep here," she said. "You will eat when I allow it." Kai nodded once. "Okay." The princess blinked. She expected anger. She expected begging. She got nothing. "You are too calm," she said. Kai looked at her. "Calm keeps you alive." Her eyes narrowed. "You speak like you have been taken before." "I have seen people with power," Kai replied. The princess leaned closer, voice low. "Then you know what power does." Kai did not look away. "It shows what kind of person you are." For a moment, the princess said nothing. Then she turned sharply and left. Her cloak moved like a blade. Kai sat on the bed, alone now. The guard stayed outside, but the room felt quiet. Too quiet. He looked at his wristband. It was still plain metal. No glow. No sound. But he could feel its weight like a promise. He pressed 2 fingers to it, lightly, like someone touching a scar. He did not try to activate it. He did not want the palace to notice anything. Not yet. Footsteps came again, soft and quick. A young servant entered the room with a tray of food. The servant was small, thin, and nervous. Their hands shook. They placed the tray down and quickly bowed. "Do not cause trouble," the servant whispered, almost silent. Kai noticed something more than fear. The servant's cheek had a faint bruise. Old, but not fully healed. Kai pointed gently. "Who did that?" The servant's eyes widened. "No one. They lied fast." Kai did not push hard. He just said, "You don't deserve that." The servant swallowed. "Humans do not deserve anything here," they said. Then they quickly turned to leave. Kai spoke before they reached the door. "What is your name?" The servant froze. It was a dangerous question in a palace. Names created bonds. Bonds created risk. "Myra," the servant said. "Kai," he answered. "Thank you, Myra." Myra hesitated. That small hesitation was important. It meant the servant was not used to respect. Then Myra left, and the door sealed. Kai ate slowly. He did not trust the food fully, but he needed strength. He took small bites, watching for strange taste, strange smell. Everything seemed normal. Still, he kept a little bread aside. A habit. In the next hours, the palace moved around him like a living beast. He heard shouting in distant halls. He heard heavy boots. He heard laughter that was not kind. He heard the sharp sound of metal staffs hitting floors. Then, late in the day, the princess returned. She was not alone. 2 nobles walked with her, tall, armored, their faces hard. One wore a gold neck ring, a sign of high rank. The other had scars across his jaw, fresh and proud. The one with the gold ring smiled at Kai like a wolf. "So this is a human," the noble said. "Small." The princess lifted her chin. "He is mine." The scarred noble's smile grew. "A toy," he said. "A weak toy." Kai kept still. He did not react, but he watched their eyes. The gold ring noble was enjoying this. The scarred one was testing boundaries. The princess spoke calmly. "You came to stay?" The gold ring noble bowed slightly, not fully respectful. "I came to warn you, Highness. The court is unhappy." The princess's eyes flashed. "Let them be unhappy." "The emperor hears whispers," the gold ring noble continued. "They say you are wasting strength on a human. They say you look soft." The word soft hit like a slap. The princess stepped forward. "I am not soft." The scarred noble leaned close. "Then prove it," he said. "Put him in the arena." Kai's gaze lifted. Arena. He did not know the full meaning, but he knew the feeling. It meant public blood. The princess's mouth tightened. She looked at Kai again, as if he was a problem she wanted to solve quickly. Kai spoke first, simple and steady. "You don't need to prove anything to them." The scarred noble laughed. "He speaks." The gold ring noble's eyes narrowed. "He is too confident." The princess stared at Kai for a long second. Then she turned to the nobles. "Not yet," she said. "He stays under my control." The scarred noble looked annoyed. "Control breaks easily," he warned. "Especially with humans." The princess's voice sharpened. "Leave." The nobles exchanged a look. The gold ring noble bowed again, still not fully respectful. "As you command," he said, but his smile stayed. They left. The princess stayed. Kai could see something behind her anger. Not fear. Not exactly. More like pressure. The palace was squeezing her, trying to shape her into what it wanted. "Why are they like that?" Kai asked. The princess looked at him as if the question was stupid. "Because they smell weakness," she said. "And do you feel weak?" Kai asked. Her eyes hardened. "No." Kai nodded slowly. "Then you don't need their approval." The princess looked away for a moment, as if she hated that his words made sense. Then she snapped back. "You are not here to teach me," she said. Kai's tone stayed calm. "I'm not teaching. I'm saying what is true." The princess stepped closer to the glass. "Truth is what power says it is." Kai did not smile. "That's what weak power says." Silence hit the room. The guards outside shifted. Even they felt it. The princess's eyes widened, then narrowed. For a second, Kai thought she might strike the glass or order him beaten, but she did neither. Instead, she whispered, "You will regret those words." Kai answered, "Maybe." The princess turned and left again, faster this time. When night came, the palace lights dimmed. The air grew colder. The halls became quieter, but not safe. Night was when secrets moved. Kai lay on the bed, eyes open. He did not sleep. He listened. Footsteps. Soft. One person. Kai sat up slowly. The door clicked open, just a small crack. Myra slipped inside, face pale. "You must be careful," Myra whispered. "They talk about you." Kai kept his voice low. "Who?" Myra's eyes darted to the glass wall. "The nobles. The one with scars. He wants you dead. The other wants to embarrass the princess." Kai nodded once. "Why tell me?" Myra swallowed. "Because you asked my name," Myra said. "No one asked that." Kai's expression softened. "Thank you." Myra moved closer and quickly placed a small item near the food unit, a thin metal pin, almost like a tool. "What is this?" Kai asked. "A door key," Myra whispered. "Not for main doors. 4 service pods. If they come for you, you can run." Kai looked at the pin, then at Myra. "If they catch you." "I know," Myra whispered, voice shaking. "But I don't want blood in this palace anymore." Kai took the pin carefully. "I won't forget this." Myra nodded, then hurried out. Kai sat still for a long time after the door sealed. So it was true. The palace was a game board, and he was a piece everyone wanted to move or break. He looked down at his wristband. Still plain. Still quiet. But the air felt different now, like the world was holding its breath. Then the band did something it had not done since the raid. A tiny light blinked once on its surface. No alarm. No sound. Just a small symbol. Simple, clean, like a royal mark. Kai's heart beat harder, but he stayed calm. A message appeared for 1 second, then faded, like it was afraid to be seen. Hold. I am close. Kai closed his fist slowly. Outside the palace, far above the capital, a sensor station tried to report an unknown signal. It failed. One by one, small systems went blind. And in the dark between stars, something moved toward the Orc world without showing its face. Kai whispered into the quiet room, "Dad, don't come angry." He did not know if the king could hear him, but he knew the next move was coming, and the palace game was about to turn into war. Morning in the Orc palace felt clean, but the air was not calm. Servants moved fast with their heads down. Guards stood in lines that looked perfect, yet their eyes kept shifting. Whispers traveled through corridors like small insects. Everyone knew something big was coming, even if no one said it out loud. The Orc Princess walked through the main hall with a cold face. She wore her royal armor again, darker than yesterday. She wanted to look strong. She wanted to look untouchable. But inside her mind, a sharp thought kept returning. They smell weakness. She hated that the nobles could push her. She hated that they used the human like a blade against her pride. In Kai's holding room, 2 guards entered without warning. "Stand," one barked. Kai stood at once. He stayed calm, but his eyes moved quickly. He noticed new restraints on the guard's belt. He noticed the guard's tense jaw. This was not a simple visit. "Where are you taking me?" Kai asked. "You will see," the guard replied. They led him through service halls, not royal halls. The path went down, deeper into the palace. The air got colder. The lights became harsh and white. The walls were plain metal, not decorated stone. Kai understood one thing clearly. This path was not meant for guests. A door opened, and the sound hit him like a wave. Roaring, shouting, heavy drums. They stepped into a massive arena. It was not just a fighting pit. It was a stage. Seats rose high like a mountain of stone and steel. Thousands of orcs filled the stands. Some wore noble rings and fine cloaks. Many wore soldier gear. Flags hung from pillars. Giant screens showed the center ring. The smell of sweat and iron filled the air. Kai's stomach tightened, but his face stayed steady. A loud voice boomed through speakers. "Citizens of the Empire, today we witness the truth of strength." The crowd cheered. On a high balcony, Kai saw the princess sitting on a throne-like chair. Her posture was perfect. Her face was hard, but her eyes were sharp, like she was watching a knife she could not control. Near her stood the scarred noble from yesterday. His smile was wide and cruel. Beside him, the gold-ring noble watched with calm interest, like he was watching a game he expected to win. Kai was pushed toward the arena gate. A heavy collar was placed around his neck. It did not shock him, but it felt like a warning. A symbol on it glowed faintly. Kai did not struggle. He wanted to know the rules first. The gate opened. The crowd got louder. Kai stepped into the ring. The floor was dark sand mixed with metal dust. The walls were tall. High above, drones floated with cameras. Every moment was being recorded. The announcer spoke again, full of joy. "Behold, the princess brings a human prize. Let us see if this weak creature can entertain us." More cheers, more laughter. Kai looked up at the balcony. The princess met his gaze. Her jaw tightened. For a second, Kai saw something in her eyes, annoyance, yes, but also a thin line of worry. The scarred noble leaned close to the princess and spoke into her ear. Kai could not hear the words, but he saw a hand clench on the armrest. The announcer raised his arms. "First challenge, the Bone Hounds." The crowd screamed the name like it was a song. A second gate opened at the other end of the ring. 3 beasts ran out. They looked like wolves, but larger, with thick gray skin and bone plates on their backs. Their eyes were red. Their mouths opened too wide, showing long teeth. They sniffed the air, then turned toward Kai. Kai did not run right away. He looked at the arena. He noticed metal posts in the sand. He noticed small vents near the walls. He noticed a thin cable line under the floor near the center, barely visible. The hounds charged. Kai moved at the last second, dodging sideways. One hound slammed into a post and yelped. Kai grabbed the post with both hands and used it like a lever. He pulled hard. The post shifted. The sand around it sank slightly, like it was connected to something below. Kai's eyes focused. A trap system. The arena was full of hidden tools, meant for show. He ran toward another post, the hound snapping at his heels. He jumped, rolled, and grabbed the second post. He pulled. The floor opened under the first hound. The beast dropped with a loud scream. The hole sealed fast. The crowd went quiet for half a second. Then they erupted. Some cheered. Most were shocked. A human had used the arena itself. Kai did not celebrate. He kept moving. The second hound lunged and caught his sleeve. Kai did not try to rip away with force. Instead, he stepped forward, giving the beast the motion it wanted, then twisted his body and pushed the hound head down. The hound stumbled. Kai slammed its side into the wall vent. A burst of hot air hit the beast's face. It recoiled, whining, shaking its head. Kai used that moment to sprint to the third post. The last hound jumped. Kai dropped flat. The beast flew over him and landed badly. Kai grabbed sand and threw it hard into the beast's eyes. Simple, basic, dirty. It worked. The hound shook its head, blinded, snarling. Kai pulled the third post. Another hole opened. The last beast dropped. Silence hit the arena again. Then the crowd exploded. Not all cheers. Some angry shouting too. The scarred noble's smile faded. The princess stayed still, but her eyes widened slightly. She did not expect this. She wanted a show, yes, but she did not expect a human to survive the first wave, and certainly not like this. The announcer's voice returned, louder now, forced excitement. Incredible. The human lives. But can he survive the second challenge? Kai breathed slowly. His chest rose and fell. His hand shook a little, but he kept control. He looked at his torn sleeve. Blood ran down his arm, thin and bright. He wiped it on his pants. On the balcony, the princess leaned forward just a little. She did not like Kai, but she did not like the way the noble smiled when he bled. The scarred noble raised a hand and signaled to an officer below. Kai saw it. He felt a cold pressure in his chest. This was not just sport. This was planned. The nobles wanted him dead to hurt the princess, or they wanted him broken to prove she was weak. The next gate opened. This time, it was not beasts. It was Orc soldiers. 5 of them stepped into the ring, armor on, weapons ready. Their batons were heavier than the ones used in raids. Their faces were hidden behind visors. The crowd roared louder than before. The announcer said, "Now the real test. Human versus Orc warriors." Kai's eyes narrowed. This was no longer entertainment. This was execution dressed as sport. The soldiers spread out around him. One moved left. One moved right. 2 stayed back. One walked forward slowly, spinning a baton. Kai raised his hands, palms open. He spoke loudly enough to be heard. "I don't want to fight you." The forward soldier laughed. "You don't get to want," he said. He attacked. Kai stepped back fast and avoided the first strike. The baton hit air with a sharp crack. Kai moved again, circling. He was not stronger than them. He knew that, so he did not try to win by force. He watched their feet. He watched their timing. He waited for a mistake. 2 soldiers attacked at once. Kai ran toward the one on the left, then suddenly changed direction, making the other soldiers swing too early. The batons collided. A tiny opening. Kai grabbed the left soldier's wrist with both hands, turned his body, and used the soldier's forward weight to throw him into the other. They fell hard. The crowd gasped. The scarred noble's jaw tightened. He leaned toward the princess again, speaking fast, angry now. The princess's eyes flicked to him, cold. She was angry too, but not at Kai. Kai backed away, breathing hard. Blood from his arm was now dripping into the sand. A soldier rose and pulled out a small side weapon. Not a baton. A blaster. The crowd went louder. Hungry. That weapon was not for sport. On the balcony, the princess stood up. Her voice cut through the noise. No lethal weapons. The scarred noble smiled without warmth. Accidents happen, he said softly. The soldier aimed. Kai saw the barrel. He did not panic. He looked down at his wristband. Still plain. Still quiet. But Kai felt something in the air, like a deep storm far away. The band grew slightly warmer. The soldier fired. A bright shot flew toward Kai's chest. And then, the shot stopped midair. It did not explode. It did not bounce. It simply froze, hanging in space like time had grabbed it. The entire arena fell silent. Even the drums stopped. Orc soldiers looked up, confused. Drones hovered still, their lights blinking. The frozen shot hovered for one long heartbeat. Then it dropped straight down into the sand, dead and harmless. Kai slowly lifted his head. The crowd's fear spread like fire. High above, beyond the open roof shields, the sky looked normal. But the sensors in the arena began to scream. A warning tone started, low, deep, impossible to ignore. The princess's eyes went wide. The scarred noble stepped back, suddenly pale. A voice came through every speaker in the arena, calm, deep, and final. This ends now, the voice said. Every orc heard it. Every orc understood the power behind it. The voice continued, colder this time. That is my son. Kai's throat tightened. He did not smile. He did not relax. He whispered, too low for anyone but himself. Dad, please. Above the arena, the sky shimmered once, like a hidden door opening. And in that shimmer, a shadow appeared, large, silent, and close enough to make the whole world feel smaller. The Orc Empire had won to the show. Now it had a king at its gates. The arena stayed silent, but it was not a peaceful silence. It was a kind of silence that happens when a giant animal steps into the room, and everyone suddenly remembers they can die. Thousands of orcs stared up at the open roof shield. Drones hovered in place like they forgot how to move. Even the guards in the ring stopped breathing for a moment. Kai stood in the sand, blood on his sleeve, eyes fixed on the shimmer in the sky. He felt the air change. Not wind, not heat, something heavier, like pressure. On the royal balcony, the Orc Princess stayed standing. Her chin was raised, but her hands were tight at her sides. She refused to sit down. She refused to look afraid. The scarred noble, however, had taken one small step back. It was a tiny movement. Most people would not notice. But the princess saw it. The shimmer above the arena widened like a crack in glass. A ship appeared. It did not roar. It did not flash lights. It simply existed, and that felt wrong. It was long and dark, with lines that looked too clean to be orc metal. No bright symbols. No banners. No pride marks. Just quiet power. Arena sensors screamed again, then suddenly went quiet, as if someone had put a hand over their mouth. The announcer's platform flickered. The big screens blinked. For a second, every image turned black. Then the screens turned on again, and they showed one thing. A man. He stood in a clean command room, hands behind his back. He wore simple dark clothing. No crown. No heavy armor. No medals. His hair was short. His eyes were steady, cold like deep water. He looked directly into the arena camera, as if he was looking at every orc at once. His voice came through every speaker again, calm and clear. Release my son, he said. No shouting. No threats. The words were simple, but the entire arena felt smaller when he spoke. The Orc Emperor's guards on the balcony stiffened. Officers in the stands grabbed their comms. Many orcs leaned forward, trying to understand what they were seeing. The princess looked at Kai, then back at the screen. Kai did not bow. He did not wave. He just stood still, his shoulders tense. The man on the screen spoke again. I did not come for war, he said. I came for my child. The scarred noble forced a laugh. He raised his arms and turned to the crowd like a performer. You hear that? He shouted. A human dares to speak to us like this. A few orcs laughed with him, but it sounded weak. It sounded unsure. The gold ring noble stayed quiet, eyes sharp. He was not laughing. He was thinking. The princess's voice cut across the balcony, strong. This is orc space, she called. You entered without permission. The man on the screen did not blink. I entered, he replied, because you took what was mine. The princess's jaw tightened. She felt the eyes of the court on her, waiting to see if she would bend or bite. She turned her head slightly and spoke to her commander, low enough that the crowd could not hear. "Why are our senses blind?" she asked. The commander's face was pale. I don't know, Highness," he whispered. "Everything is being jammed." The princess's stomach turned, but she did not show it. Down in the arena ring, the Orc soldiers moved again, slowly, as if their bodies remembered the job. One soldier raised his weapon, then hesitated. He glanced up at the screen like a child who had just seen thunder. Kai took one step forward, careful. He looked up at the balcony. His voice was not loud, but the arena was quiet enough to hear. "Stop this," he said. "No one needs to die." The scarred noble stared at him with hate. "You will die," the noble hissed, loud enough for nearby guards to hear. "And your father will watch." Kai's eyes narrowed. "He won't," Kai said. The man on the screen heard the noble's words. His eyes shifted slightly, like a blade turning. "Who said that?" the man asked. The scarred noble felt the attention land on him. He lifted his chin, trying to be brave. "I did," he shouted. "We do not fear you." The man stared for a long second. Then he spoke a single word. "Enough." The arena lights dimmed. Not fully, just enough to make every orc notice. The sky above the arena looked darker, like a shadow had passed in front of the sun. In the ring, the orc soldiers' weapon systems blinked. Their power units shut off. Batons lost their charge. Their visors turned black for 1 second, then returned. None of them understood how it happened. They only knew one thing. The human king could reach into their systems like they were toys. The crowd started to panic. Some orcs stood up, shouting. Some tried to leave. Guards at the exits pushed them back into order, but the fear was already moving. On the balcony, the Orc Princess raised her voice. "Hold your positions," she commanded. The guards obeyed her voice more than they obeyed fear. The scarred noble leaned close to the princess. "Urgent now." "Highness, we must strike first," he whispered. "We fire the defense grid. We crush that ship." The princess looked at him, and for a moment she hated him, because she knew he was not trying to protect the Empire. He was trying to protect his pride. She turned slightly. "You forced this," she said. Quiet. The noble's eyes widened. "I." The princess cut him off. "You wanted my weakness," she said. "Now you found something worse." The gold ring noble stepped forward, speaking softly like poison. "Highness," he said, "if you hesitate, they will say you fear him." The princess's hands tightened. She had grown up with those words. They controlled her life. Fear the whispers. Fear the court. Fear the emperor's judgment. Fear looking soft. She looked down at Kai in the ring. Kai was hurt, bleeding, but he still stood. He was not begging. He was not boasting. He was simply steady. The princess did not understand why that bothered her so much. The man on the screen spoke again. "Return him," he said. "I will leave. No punishment. No attack." The emperor's chief officer, standing near the princess, finally spoke. "Human," the officer said, trying to sound strong, "you offer terms to an empire." The man's gaze did not move. "I offer mercy," he replied. The word hit the arena like a slap. Orcs did not like mercy. They liked victory. Mercy sounded like insult. The scarred noble smiled again, loud and sharp. "Mercy," he shouted. "We do not want mercy." He raised his hand and made a signal. Kai saw it. At the far edge of the arena roof, hidden defense turrets rotated. Their barrels lifted toward the sky. Power built inside them with a rising hum. The princess turned fast. "Stop," she ordered. But the scarred noble ignored her. The turrets fired. Bright lines of energy shot into space. Every orc in the arena held their breath, waiting for the human ship to explode. But the shots did not reach it. They vanished. Not burned. Not blocked with a visible shield. They simply disappeared, like the sky had swallowed them. A wave of shock rolled through the crowd. The scarred noble's smile died. He stared at the roof turrets as if they had betrayed him. On the screen, the human king's eyes stayed calm. "Do not do that again," he said. His voice was still soft, but now it sounded like the end of a road. The princess felt a cold line of fear cut through her pride. Not fear of death, fear of being powerless. Kai looked up at the balcony, voice steady again. "Princess," he called, "you don't have to let them use you." The princess's eyes flashed. She wanted to hate his words, but the truth sat behind them like a stone. The court was using her. The nobles were pushing her. And now, because of their game, a human king sat above a world like a shadow. The emperor's officer whispered to another guard, panicked. "Our defense grid is not responding," he said. "We cannot lock onto the target." "Try again," the other demanded. They tried. Nothing. Every system that mattered was blind. The scarred noble's breathing became fast and ugly. He leaned close to the princess again. "Give me the order," he begged. "Let me take the human. Let me kill him. We will show strength." The princess stared at him. For the first time, she saw him clearly. Not a hero, not a protector, just a hungry man who wanted blood to cover his shame. She turned away from him. Then she looked down at Kai, and her voice came out colder than steel. "Kai," she said, "what is your father?" Kai did not smile. "He is a king," Kai answered. "A real one." The princess's throat tightened. A real king. Not a loud king. Not a proud king. A king who could enter an empire's sky and make its weapons vanish without effort. The man on the screen spoke again. Final now. "I will not ask a third time," he said. "Release my son, or I will come down and take him." The last words were simple, but every orc heard what they meant. No speeches. No drama. Just certainty. The princess felt the eyes of the empire on her. If she gave Kai back, they would call her weak. If she refused, the empire might burn. And in that moment, she realized a worst truth. This was not her game anymore. This was not about pride. This was about survival. Kai stood in the ring, bleeding, watching her, and the princess had to choose before the next breath turned into war. The palace did not feel like a palace anymore. It felt like a trap. After the arena, the Orc Princess returned to the royal wing with her guards tight around her. The halls were still bright, but the light did not feel safe. Servants avoided her eyes. Officers whispered behind pillars. Nobles watched from balconies like hunters watching a wounded animal. The human king's ship was still in the sky. No bombs fell. No lasers fired. But the empire could feel him above them like a hand hovering over her throat. The princess entered her private war room. A round table showed maps, defense lines, and blinking warnings. Half the warnings had stopped updating, like the system was embarrassed to admit it were blind. Her commander stood near the table, sweating. "Highness," he said, voice tight, "our grid is failing. Our outer patrols cannot see the ship. Our comms are—" "Quiet," the princess said. She stared at the map and tried to breathe like a ruler, not like a cornered animal. The door opened again. The scarred noble entered without permission. Behind him came the gold ring noble, calm as always, and 3 armed guards who were loyal to them, not to her. The princess's eyes hardened. "You dare enter here like this?" The scarred noble bowed only a little. "Highness," he said, "you are in danger. The court is angry. The emperor is listening." The gold ring noble smiled thinly. "They say you brought the human king to our sky," he said. "They say your pride invited weakness." The princess stepped forward. "My pride," she snapped. "You pushed for the arena. You pushed for blood." The scarred noble's face tightened. "Blood is strength." "Blood is noise," the princess replied. "And now the sky is quiet, because he owns it." The scarred noble leaned closer, eyes bright. "Then we strike first. Give me the order. Let me take the human boy. Let me break him. His father will lose control. He will make mistakes. Then we hit him." The princess felt disgust rise in her chest. It was not just his plan. It was the way he enjoyed it. "You are not protecting the empire," she said. "You are protecting your ego." The noble's jaw flexed. "Careful," he warned. The gold ring noble stepped in smoothly. "Highness, the court needs a decision," he said. "You can hand the human to the emperor's officers. The empire will claim you acted for duty." The princess understood the poison in those words. They wanted to take Kai from her, not to save the empire, to take her power away. She looked at them, and she saw the truth clearly now. They were not afraid of the human king. They were afraid of her being blamed, and they wanted to use that fear to cut her down. The princess spoke slowly. No. The scarred noble's smile vanished. No. He stays in my custody, she said, until I decide. The scarred noble's voice turned harsh. You do not decide anymore. He snapped his fingers. 2 guards moved to the door behind the princess, blocking it. Another guard stepped forward, hand on weapon. The princess's commander reached for his sidearm, but he hesitated. He was outnumbered. The gold-ring noble spoke softly, as if he was offering a gentle solution. Highness, please, he said. We will handle this. You only need to sign one order. Then you can rest. Rest, the princess repeated. Bitter, you mean sit down and be silent. The scarred noble took one more step forward. Give us the human, he said, or we will take him. The princess's eyes flashed. She was a warrior. She could fight, but if she fought in this room, she might lose. And if she lost, Kai would die and the empire would still burn. Her mind moved fast. She had one advantage they did not expect. The human boy trusted her just enough to speak honestly, and she had seen what his father could do. The princess lifted her chin. You want him, she said. Then you will have to go through me. The scarred noble laughed, ugly, gladly. He raised his hand. At that moment, a sharp alarm tone sounded. Not a palace alarm, a personal alarm. The princess looked at the war table. A small light blinked on one private channel, one the nobles did not control. A message had arrived from a deep space sensor station, the last one still working. It was only 2 words. He moved. The princess's stomach dropped. The human king had moved closer. Time was running out. She looked at the nobles. She made a decision, fast and cold. Step back, she said, voice calm. The scarred noble's eyes narrowed. Oh, what? The princess did something unexpected. She smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was a smile of someone who had chosen fire over chains. She lifted her hand to her wrist and pressed a hidden control. The room's side wall opened with a soft hiss. A private exit. A service tunnel only royals knew. The noble stayed, shocked for one heartbeat. Then the scarred noble shouted, Stop her! The princess moved fast. She shoved her commander through the exit first. Then she stepped into the tunnel. But the scarred noble was quick too. He ran, armor heavy, anger giving him speed. The princess sprinted through the tunnel, boots hitting metal. The tunnel lights flickered as security systems tried to decide who had authority. Behind her, she heard the gold-ring noble shouting orders. Guards ran. The princess's breath burned in her chest. She was not running away like a coward. She was running to make a move before they killed the wrong person. The tunnel ended near a lower wing of the palace. Quiet, less guarded, close to storage and servant halls. Kai's holding room was near there. The princess reached the door and pressed her royal code. The door opened. Kai stood inside, already awake, already ready, like he knew the palace would come for him. He looked at her and saw something new in her face. Urgency. What happened? Kai asked. The princess stepped in and sealed the door behind her. They are coming, she said. Kai's eyes narrowed. To kill me? To take you, she said. Then kill you. Kai's jaw tightened. My father. The princess cut him off. Your father is in the sky, she said, and my nobles are stupid enough to poke him again. Kai stared at her. Why are you telling me? The princess took a breath. The next words felt like poison in her mouth. Because she had to admit something she hated. Because this started as my pride, she said. But now it is bigger, and I will not let them use you to destroy my world. Kai studied her carefully. So what are you doing? The princess reached into her belt and pulled out a small device, thin and black with a red seal. A palace access key. I am freeing you, she said. Kai did not move for a second, as if he did not trust his ears. You are freeing me, he asked. The princess glared. Do not make me repeat it. Kai stepped closer, cautious. Why? The princess's voice lowered. Because you are not a toy, she said, and because your father is not a normal man. If you die here, he will burn this city to ash. I can feel it. Kai's face tightened. He looked down. He will come angry, he whispered. The princess's eyes sharpened. Then stop him, she said, if you can. Kai looked back up. I can try. The princess pressed a device against Kai's collar. The collar clicked once, then unlocked and fell to the floor with a dull sound. Kai rubbed his neck, breathing slower now. Outside the room, boots thundered in the corridor. The nobles were close. The princess shoved the service pin Myra had given into Kai's palm. She had grabbed it earlier from a hidden drawer in the tunnel hallway. This opens service powers, she said. Kai's eyes widened slightly. How do you have this? The princess did not answer. No time. She moved to the wall and pressed another hidden panel. A small hatch opened behind the storage unit. A narrow escape path. Kai stared. You had an exit this whole time. The princess looked away. Royals always have exits, she said. The boot sound grew louder. A voice shouted outside. Open the door. Kai stepped toward the hatch. Then he stopped and looked back at the princess. You are coming, he asked. The princess's pride rose again, sharp and stubborn. I do not run from my own palace, she said. Kai's voice stayed calm. If you stay, they will use you. The princess's eyes flicked to the door. She knew he was right. The scarred noble would not stop at taking Kai. He would blame her, shame her, maybe kill her, and call it duty. The princess took a breath and made a second choice. She stepped toward the hatch. Move, she told Kai. Kai went in first. The passage was tight. Metal scraped his shoulder. He moved carefully, keeping quiet. The princess followed. The hatch closed behind them just as the room door exploded open. They heard shouting. Guards rushed in. Someone screamed, They're gone! Kai and the princess crawled through the passage. It led into a dark service corridor behind the walls. The air smelled like dust and old wires. Kai whispered, Where are we going? The princess answered, voice low and bitter, to a place the nobles do not control. They reached a junction. Two paths split. The princess stopped and listened. Footsteps above them. People searching. Kai looked at his wristband. It was still playing, but he could feel it like a heartbeat now. A tiny symbol flickered once. Kai whispered, Dad knows. The princess swallowed. Good, she whispered. Then maybe he will not kill everyone. They moved again, faster now, deeper into the palace's hidden bones. But the nobles were not stupid. The scarred noble's voice echoed through the service vents, angry and loud. Find them. Bring me the human alive. The princess too. Kai's eyes widened. He wants you too. The princess's face turned hard. Yes, she said. He always did. They ran through a final tunnel that opened into an empty storage chamber near the old royal hangar, an area used for emergency ships. A small craft sat there, dusty but ready. The princess moved toward it. Then the light snapped on. Guards stepped out from behind crates, and the scarred noble stood in front of the ship, smiling like he had been waiting. You chose wrong, he said. The princess stopped. Kai stepped forward slightly, body tense. The noble raised his weapon, not at Kai, at the princess. You were supposed to be a symbol, he said, but you became a problem. The princess lifted her chin. You are a coward, she said. The scarred noble's smile twisted. Maybe, he replied, but I will still win. He pulled the trigger. The princess did not have time to dodge. Kai moved without thinking. He reached out, but he was too far. The shot hit. The princess gasped, her body jolting, and she fell to one knee. Kai rushed to her, catching her before she hit the ground. Her blood stained his hands, warm and bright. The scarred noble stepped closer, pleased. Now, he said softly, your king in the sky will do what kings do. Kai looked up, eyes burning now, voice shaking but controlled. You don't understand, Kai said. The noble laughed. Oh, I understand perfectly. I just made sure there will be war. Kai's wristband grew hot. Not glowing bright, just hot, like a lock opening. Kai whispered one word, full of fear and anger. Dad! Above the palace, the quiet shadow in the sky moved again, and the next moment would decide if an empire lived or burned. The princess fell into Kai's arms like her strength had been cut away. For 1 second, Kai forgot the arena, forgot the palace, forgot every rule. He only saw blood on his hands and the shock in her eyes. Her armor was dark, but the red stain spread fast under the chestplate. Kai lowered her carefully to the floor. His fingers pressed near the wound, trying to slow the bleeding. He had basic training. Every border kid learned how to stop blood when trouble came. The scarred noble watched with a pleased smile. Yes, he said softly. Hold her. Feel it. Now the human king will show his true face. Around him, guards raised weapons. Their visors hid their eyes, but their bodies leaned forward. They wanted this. They wanted to see the human break. Kai looked up at the noble. His voice came out low, steady, almost cold. You did this to start a war. The scarred noble shrugged. War is clean, he lied. War solves problems. Kai's jaw tightened. War makes orphans, Kai said. Like you. The noble's smile twitched. Careful, human. Kai did not move toward him. He did not charge. He did not scream. Instead, he looked down at the princess. Her breathing was shallow. She tried to speak, but only air came out. Kai leaned close. Stay with me, he whispered. Don't close your eyes. Her fingers weakly gripped his sleeve. For the first time since the raid, she looked less like a ruler and more like a person. Kai's wristband grew warmer. Not bright, not loud, just warm, like a door unlocking. A small symbol appeared on it. Clear now, sharp lines, a royal mark that did not belong to Orcs. The guards noticed. One of them stepped back. What is that? He muttered. The scarred noble's eyes narrowed. Shoot him, he ordered. 2 guards aimed at Kai. Kai did not raise his hands. He did not beg. He simply said one word, quiet but heavy. Father. Above the palace, the sky answered, not with an explosion, with silence that became deeper. Every light in the hangar flickered at once. Every security camera blinked. Every weapon display turned to static for half a heartbeat. Then all screens in the hangar turned on. A face appeared. The human king. He was no longer just a calm man on a distant screen. Now his eyes looked closer, sharper, like he was already inside the building. His voice filled the hangar speakers, calm and flat. Step away from my son. The guards hesitated, their weapons lowered by instinct. The scarred noble forced a laugh. You cannot stop us from here, he said, loud, trying to sound brave. The king's gaze moved to the princess on the floor, bleeding. For the first time, the king's calm cracked, not into rage, into something colder. What did you do? The king asked. The scarred noble smiled wider. I solve your problem, he said. Now you will burn us, and the empire will unite against you. Kai shouted, voice breaking. Dad, stop, please. The king's eyes shifted to Kai. He heard the fear. He heard the warning. Then the king spoke one simple sentence that made the air freeze. I will not lose you. Outside the hangar, a deep sound rolled through the palace, like a giant engine waking up. Metal hummed. The floor vibrated. Dust fell from high beams. The scarred noble's smile finally weakened. He glanced around, suddenly unsure. What is that? He snapped at his guards. A guard whispered, voice shaking. All doors are locking. Our comms are dead. Another guard yelled, we can't reach the emperor. The palace was being taken, quietly, cleanly, without a single shot. Kai's mind moved fast. If his father came down angry, people would die. Not just a scarred noble. Thousands. Maybe millions. Kai looked at the princess again. Her blood was still flowing. She needed help now, not later. Kai made a choice. He raised his voice toward the cameras, toward the speakers, toward his father. Dad, he shouted. She tried to free me. She's not the enemy. The scarred noble laughed again, desperate now. He lies. She is Orc. She took him. Kai's eyes burned. She started it, Kai admitted, but she's trying to stop it. The king's face stayed on the screen. His eyes did not blink. Proof, the king said. Kai swallowed. He needed proof fast. He looked at the princess's belt. A small red seal device hung there, the royal access key she used to remove his collar. Kai grabbed it and held it up to the nearest camera drone, close enough for the lens to focus. She unlocked my collar, Kai said. She ran with me. Your enemy shot her because she chose to free me. The hangar fell quiet. Even the guards stopped moving. The scarred noble's face tightened. Shoot the drones, he screamed. Break the feed. A guard raised a weapon toward a drone. The weapon died in his hands. The power unit went dark. The king's voice returned, colder. Do not move. Every guard froze. It was not magic. It was control. Their armor systems, their weapons, their comms, everything they trusted, was being held by a hand they could not see. The scarred noble stepped back, eyes wide now. He pointed at Kai. Fine, he shouted. Then I will finish it myself. He pulled out a knife, simple metal, no power unit. Old style. No system could shut it off. He rushed forward. Kai moved instantly. He shifted his body between the noble and the princess, protecting her. The noble stabbed. Kai grabbed the noble's wrist with both hands and twisted, using the noble's forward force. The blade cut Kai's palm, slicing skin, but Kai did not let go. He slammed the noble's arm into a metal crate. The knife clattered to the floor. The noble roared and swung his free fist. Kai ducked and drove his shoulder into the noble's chest. They crashed to the ground. The noble was heavier, stronger. He tried to crush Kai with brute force. Kai did not try to win strength with strength. He used timing. He used leverage. He used the noble's anger against him. Kai slipped to the side, grabbed the noble's collar plate, and pulled him into the floor hard. The noble's head hit metal. He groaned, stunned. Kai got on top, breathing hard, blood running from his hand. He raised his fist. He could end it. He could smash the noble's face until nothing was left. Kai's whole body shook with fury. Then he heard a weak sound behind him. A small breath. The princess. She was still alive. She was watching. And in that moment, Kai remembered what war really was. Not power, but loss. Kai lowered his fist. He grabbed the noble's throat plate instead and pinned him. I could kill you, Kai said, voice tight. But I won't. The noble laughed through pain. You're weak. Kai leaned close. No, he whispered. I'm controlled. The noble's eyes widened, confused. Kai looked up toward the camera drone again, toward the king's eyes. Dad, Kai said, louder now. This is the one who did it. Take him, but don't burn the whole world. The king stared from the screen. For a long second, no one moved. Then the king spoke, slow and heavy. You saved an Orc Princess, he said. Kai swallowed. She tried to save me first, Kai replied. The king's eyes narrowed slightly, like he was measuring the shape of a future. Bring her to medical care, the king ordered. Now. The guards looked at each other. They did not move. They were orcs. They did not follow human orders. The king's voice turned into steel. You will move, he said, or you will fall. A guard's knees buckled for no reason. He fell hard, gasping. Not dead, just forced down, like gravity had increased. The others understood the message. Two guards slowly stepped forward, hands raised, showing they would obey. Kai pointed at the princess. Careful, he said. She's bleeding. The guards lifted her gently, awkward but trying. The scarred noble coughed under Kai's grip, eyes furious. You think this ends it? The noble rasped. The emperor will hunt you. The court will call her traitor. Kai looked down at him, calm again. Then they will have to face truth, he said. The noble spat blood. Truth doesn't matter. Only fear does. Kai stood up. He did not stump the noble. He did not spit back. He simply said, We'll see. Kai turned to follow the guards carrying the princess. Before he left, he looked up at the screen one more time. Dad, he said quietly, don't turn me into you. The king's expression did not change much, but something in his eyes softened, just barely. I did not come to rule them, the king said. I came to get you. Kai nodded once. Then get me, he replied, but let them live. As they moved through the hangar corridor, palace doors opened ahead of them as if someone was guiding their path. Servants and soldiers stared, shocked, as a bleeding princess was carried by her own guards, and a human walked beside her. Behind them, the scarred noble screamed orders that no one obeyed anymore. Outside, the human ship in the sky lowered a silent beam toward the palace. Not a weapon, an arrival path. Kai felt it in his bones. His father was coming down in person. And if the Orc Emperor chose pride over peace, the next part would not be a palace game. It would be a judgment. The Orc capital did not sleep that night. Sirens did not scream. No bombs fell. No buildings burned. Yet the whole city felt awake, like every stone and tower knew a new power had entered its sky. Above the palace, the human ship stayed still, silent, dark, and impossible to ignore. Inside the palace medical wing, bright lights filled a clean room. Orc healers worked fast. They cut open the princess's armor, sealed the wound, and pushed healing gel into torn flesh. Machines hummed. Monitors blinked. Kai stood near the door, hands stained with dried blood. He did not sit. He did not relax. Every few seconds, he looked at the princess's face to make sure her breathing stayed steady. An Orc healer glanced at him with suspicion. "Why do you stay?" the healer asked. Kai answered simply, because she tried to do the right thing. The healer snorted, but said nothing more. Outside the room, Orc guards stood in a tight line. Their weapons were on, but their confidence was gone. They had felt their systems shut down in seconds. They had seen their defense shots vanish in the sky. They were trained for war, but not for helplessness. Then the hallway lights dimmed once. Not because the power failed, because something bigger had arrived. The doors at the far end opened without anyone touching them. A group of human soldiers stepped in, calm and disciplined. Their armor was smooth and simple, without loud symbols. Their rifles stayed pointed down, but every Orc could feel they were ready. And behind them walked the human king. He did not wear a crown. He did not walk like an Orc warlord. He walked like a man who had already won before he entered the room. Kai saw him and felt his throat tighten. "Dad," he said quietly. The king stopped in front of him. For a moment, he looked like a normal father. Tired eyes, controlled breath. Then his gaze moved over Kai's cut hand, Kai's bruised face, the dried blood. His jaw tightened. He lifted one hand and placed it on Kai's shoulder. "You did well," the king said, simple and direct. Kai's eyes watered, but he held it back. "I almost didn't," Kai whispered. The king's eyes shifted toward the medical room. "Is she alive?" he asked. Kai nodded. "Yes, she saved me. Then she got shot." The king stood still for a second, thinking. Then he spoke to his soldiers. "Protect this wing," he ordered. "No one enters with weapons raised." His soldiers nodded and spread out quietly. An Orc officer stepped forward, trembling with anger and fear. "You cannot give orders in our palace," the officer said. The king looked at him calmly. "Then stop acting like you lost control of it," the king replied. The officer opened his mouth, but no words came. He knew it was true. The palace was already slipping out of Orc hands, not by force, but by fear. A new voice echoed in the corridor, loud, angry. It belonged to the scarred noble, now in cuffs, dragged forward by 2 human soldiers and 3 Orc guards who had chosen survival over pride. His eyes burned with hate. He pointed at Kai and shouted, "Traitor, you made her weak. You brought the human king into our sky." Kai stared at him. "You shot her," Kai said. The noble spat. "I saved the empire," he screamed. "Now the emperor will unite the court. He will crush you all." The king's face stayed calm. He walked closer to the noble, just one step, and the noble's shouting died, not because he was silenced by a weapon, because the king's presence was enough. "Where's the emperor?" the king asked, voice quiet. The Orc officer swallowed. "In the high court," he said, "with the council." The king nodded once. "Then we go there," he said. Kai's heart tightened. "Dad," he whispered, "please, don't make this a massacre." The king looked at him. "I won't," he said, "if they let me choose peace." Kai exhaled, slow. They left the medical wing with a guarded escort. Orc soldiers lined the holes, tense, confused. Some looked ready to fight. Others looked ready to kneel. Most looked lost. At the high court chamber, massive doors stood closed. 2 giant orc statues guarded the entrance, old kings with raised axes. The doors opened slowly. Inside, the high court was a circle of stone seats around a central platform. High-ranking nobles sat in armored robes. Generals stood behind them. The Orc Emperor sat at the highest seat, larger than most orcs, wearing a heavy crown of dark metal. His eyes were hard. He stared down at the human king, and kind of like they were insects that had crawled into his hole. The scarred noble was thrown onto the floor, still cuffed. The Emperor's voice boomed. "Why is my noble on the ground?" Kai took a step forward, but the king lifted a hand slightly, stopping him. The king spoke first. "Because he tried to kill my son," the king said. The Emperor's nostrils flared. "Your son was stolen by my daughter," he said. "This is Orc law." The king's gaze stayed steady. "Then your law is theft," he replied. A wave of anger rolled through the court. Several nobles stood up, shouting, "How dare you! Human filth! Kill them!" The Emperor raised one hand, and the whole quieted again. He leaned forward. "You have power," he said, "but power does not give you a throne here." The king nodded. "Agreed," he said. "I did not come for your throne." That surprised the court. Even the Emperor's eyes narrowed with doubt. The king continued, voice even, "I came for my son, and I came to stop a war that your nobles wanted to start." He pointed slightly toward the scarred noble. "This one shot your daughter when she tried to return my son. He wanted to force me to burn your world." The Emperor looked down at the scarred noble. "Is this true?" he asked. The noble laughed, wild. "Yes," he shouted. "I did it for you. I did it for the Empire." Some nobles nodded, tempted by his madness. Kai stepped forward now. He held up the red seal device again. "She unlocked my collar," Kai said, simple and clear. "She tried to free me. He shot her for it." The court murmured. This was not rumor. This was a fact with proof. The Emperor's expression tightened, but he still did not want to bend. "Even if this is true," the Emperor said, "you entered our sky. You shut down our defense. You humiliated us." The king's eyes hardened. "I prevented your weapon from killing my son," he said. "That is not humiliation. That is restraint." The Emperor leaned back. "Restraint," he repeated, like he tasted the word and disliked it. "What do you want now, human king?" The king looked around the room, letting every orc feel his calm. "I want a treaty," he said. The court erupted again, louder this time. A treaty meant equals. Orcs did not like equals. The Emperor raised his hand again, and silence returned in slow waves. "A treaty," the Emperor said. "With humans?" "Yes," the king replied. "Borders. Trade. No raids on weak stations. No stealing children. No arena executions for sport." The scarred noble snarled. "Weak. Soft." The king glanced down at him. "Quiet," he said. The noble tried to laugh again, but no sound came out. His mouth moved, but silence held his voice like a grip. Fear moved through the court. Many nobles shifted in their seats. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "You silenced my noble in my court." The king's gaze stayed steady. "I silenced a murderer," he replied. "You should thank me." The Emperor's fingers gripped his armrest. His pride fought his reason. Then a soft sound came from the court side door. A stretcher. Orc guards carried the Orc Princess into the chamber. She was pale, weak, but awake. Her chest was wrapped. Her eyes were sharp despite the pain. The court gasped. The Emperor stood halfway, shocked. "Daughter." The princess lifted one hand. "Enough," she said, voice weak but clear. "I am not dead, and I will speak." She looked around the court, then fixed her eyes on the scarred noble. "He shot me," she said, "because I chose to return the human." The scarred noble stayed, mouth still silent, eyes wide with panic now. The princess continued, forcing each word through pain. "I claimed the human out of pride," she admitted. "I wanted to show power. I was wrong. The court was stunned. An Orc princess admitting wrong was rare. She turned her gaze to the emperor. Father, the human king could have burned us, she said. He did not. That is strength too. The emperor's jaw tightened. He hated this. He hated the feeling of being watched by his own people while his daughter spoke like this. Kai looked at the princess with surprise. He did not expect honesty from her in front of the court. The princess looked at Kai for one moment. Then she looked at the human king. You came for your son, she said. You had every reason to take revenge. But you did not destroy the city. You listened to him. The king did not speak, but his eyes softened a little. The princess faced the court again. This treaty is not weakness, she said. It is survival. The emperor stared at her. His pride was heavy, but the truth was heavier. He looked at the human king. If I accept, the emperor said slowly, my nobles will call me weak. The king replied, let them, he said. A real ruler does not serve whispers. The emperor held the king's gaze. Then, after a long pause that felt like a year, he exhaled. Fine, the emperor said, voice rough. We will negotiate. The court erupted, half angry, half relieved. The scarred noble tried to scream, but silence still held him. Tears of rage formed in his eyes. The emperor lifted a hand toward his guards. Take him away, he ordered. He will face judgment for striking royal blood and endangering the empire. Kai released a breath he did not know he was holding. The human king nodded once. Then we have a path, he said. He turned slightly and looked at Kai. You did what I could not, the king said. You stopped my anger. Kai swallowed. I just didn't want everyone to die, he said. The king's voice softened. That is why you will be better than me, he said. The princess, still on the stretcher, spoke one more time, weak but clear. Kai, she said. Kai stepped closer. Yes. Her eyes held his, and her pride was quieter now. I said I wanted you like a thing, she admitted. I was blind. You are not mine. Kai nodded. I know, he said. The princess took a slow breath. Then, go, she said. But remember this, the empire has many enemies, and some are not Orc. The words felt like a warning, not a threat. The king looked at her. We will watch, he said. That night, the human ship did not fire a single weapon. It stayed in the sky like a silent promise. And for the first time in a long time, an Orc emperor and a human king agreed on one truth. A future built on fear would always break. As Kai left the high court beside his father, he looked back once at the massive chamber. The scarred noble was being dragged away, still silent, still furious. The princess lay weak but alive, eyes thoughtful. And somewhere deep in space, far beyond all borders and human maps, a hidden signal blinked again, watching, learning, waiting. The war did not start, but the story was not over.